You're listening to First Gen Healing, a podcast on Latinx healing and awakening journeys. My name is Priscilla. I am your host, and this is part 2 of an episode with Mari.
Hi.
She's back, and if you haven't listened to part 1, make sure that you do. In this episode, I thought it would be cool if we talked a little bit about the journey of becoming a creative, let's say, banking on something different.
Yeah, so since at least college, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. That was kind of like my mission. Go to corporate, learn, and then start my own business.
Okay.
And the universe is like, no. So that's kind of been my journey for a minute. I got my bachelor's, and then everyone was applying to like all the tech jobs, like the big 6 accounting firms, and a bunch of jobs in San Francisco. And I was like, no, I'm gonna figure it out. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I refuse to go into those worlds. And so I struggled for a minute. It literally was like I took a telemarketing job, which was promoted to me as marketing assistant. Liars! But at the time, I was like, okay, whatever, it's money. And then I ended up doing marketing coordinator at Worldwide Produce, which is like a produce company here in LA. And then they fired me, and I was like, cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. For like layoff or fired you?
So it was on my 90th day. I had filled out my
Okay.
insurance papers, and I was ready to settle into a 9 to 5 when they literally fired my 22-year-old self. Yeah, it was terrible, but it is what it is. After that, I found myself in the nonprofit space. It was a company that was for profit, but they worked in the nonprofit realm. And that's when I decided to really prove myself. I don't care what anyone says, but I built that business. Like, that business was me.
Wow.
All their marketing was done by me, email marketing and social media marketing, text marketing, SMS marketing, ads, you name it. I was doing it.
Were you the only one in the marketing team or department?
Girl, I was the only one on the team.
Oh.
I was the only one on the team.
Wow.
And then they,
What does that actually look like? Like you and the owner working together?
so it was 2 owners. I refused to name them because I don't want that kind of energy near me.
Okay.
Um, but they were 2 owners, and they hired me as like their assistant or marketing person. They literally said, choose your title. We don't care. And I was like, okay, cool. And they stuck me into a tiny office, and they were like, do something. And I was like, bet. I ended up doing a whole, like, I just really wanted to prove that I was good enough.
Yeah.
And so I did everything that I could, and then they hired on 2 more people. But those 2 people specifically were running the programs, because of my marketing, they were growing exponentially, and they were able to quadruple or more their income. And so they needed more people. And so they added 2 more people to the team, and of course they put them higher than me. They pay them more. They also give them more bonuses. But whatever, lesson learned. And so, yeah, I was the main one running that company for at least a year, and then they hired more people. And then after that, I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm quitting because someone on that team did not like me. And that person was like determined to get me out. And I was like, here, I'm gonna make your job easy. Bye. And so I left thinking I was gonna get a job in Savage
Right
Express.
away? Oh, I'm sad. Okay.
And then they were like, nah.
Were you already in the process when you resigned from this company?
What do you mean?
In the process of interviewing for Savage?
I was in the last round. That's why I quit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, no. Okay. So you're in a pickle here, but I do want to maybe take us back for a little bit. You mentioned you knew you wanted to be an entrepreneur since college around that time. Did you know what you wanted to do? Or was it just, and like, I just want to be an entrepreneur?
It was just I want to be an entrepreneur. I think
Okay.
again, I'm very close to my family. So my dad had was like pretty much looking back, he had a 9 to 5 job for most of my upbringing, and but he did side gigs so that he can buy us like the house that we currently live in. So that was like his mentality, and he kind of like put it on me, where it was like, you work your 9 to 5 to pay the bills, but anything additional goes to like your dreams and your aspirations, and like essentially once you're ready to like let go of the 9 to 5, you let it go. And I was like, smart, genius, gonna do that. Um, so then that was my mentality, where I was like, okay, like I'm going to do this on my own eventually, because
Yeah.
his motto was like, no one gets rich from working for someone else. And I was like, you are 100% correct. Therefore, I will be doing that. Sign me up for that. So that's kind of where my entrepreneurial mindset came from. Both
Okay.
of my parents run their own businesses. I run my own business. So it's been around me for a minute.
I think sometimes we have this picture of what it can be like, oh, cool, I'm just going to work 9 to 5, then I'm going to have my business. What happened when you actually worked a 9 to 5? Did you feel like, yeah, I can handle doing this for a few years while I get my business running? Like, what was that actually like for you?
I think my entire life, or at least like my career, I have been wanting to get approval from other people, which is bad. And so that approval was super important to me. So when I got my 9 to 5, both like the telemarketing, the the worldwide produce, the nonprofit gig, they were in a sense telling me I am good enough to like fit in this world that I don't even know, because I feel like most, like I think we talked about in the previous episode, it was like we want to do better than our families, therefore like oftentimes it's pictured as like corporate is better, right?
Yeah.
um like try to work in an office, and that was my goal at the time, where I was like, I just want to be approved by these people because I know that I'm good at what I do. And I think that was like the mindset that I had back then. I'm going to start a business and then like figure it out later, but like right now I need the experience to learn and apply. um, which is the one thing that I'm grateful for that shitty job, where it's like it taught me how to run a business. It taught me all the
Yeah.
marketing things that I needed to do. It taught me I could literally do anything if I just like figure it out. Like
Yeah.
there's no like nothing standing in my way. YouTube is free, Google is free, AI is free. Like there's just figure it out.
Yeah. Ooh, so cool. And I think something unique, probably, or that not a lot of people experience, is having the vision that your dad kind of imprinted in you, which is 9 to 5 and entrepreneurial, like can be done together, right? Or it can be a means to an end. So that's super cool. And then two, having a startup job, I had one too where it was a shit show. But I think the cool thing is that you get to experiment because they give you free reign. It's even like kind of make up your own title, figure out what you're gonna do. It gives you that opportunity to figure things out and not have a lot of guidance. And that, I think, is a big part of the entrepreneur journey.
Couldn't agree more. Literally,
Yeah.
it's just figuring out what to do next. There's no one gonna sit here and be like, Mari, do this. It's literally just a little voice in your head saying, like, girl, what are you doing? You need to post on social. You need to do LinkedIn. You need to do da 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 da, and the list goes on and on. Oh, like I said, that job like really kind of prepared me, because at the end of the day, I literally could have just sat there and like
Yeah.
marked attendance for the students that attended their classes, and that was it. That's all I had to really do if I really break it down to it. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, it gave you the opportunity to, like you said, prove yourself. And although maybe you thought you were doing it to prove them that you were good enough, I think you were doing that to yourself too, at the same time, which is so cool. So okay, now we are back to the present. Let's say where you're in this pickle, you're like, ooh, Fenty, I'm about to get this good job and be part of a badass company, and it falls through. So is it right away you start Latinx marketing, or is it some time in between?
So in 20, oh my God, hold on. I must look this up because it's important to the story.
Okay.
Cue elevator music. Just,
Do, 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 do.
okay, so January of 2020, I tweeted, putting it out in the universe, I'm starting a business 2021. No idea what was happening, okay? I literally had no vision for this. I literally was like, this is my tweet. Have a nice day. And so the reason I had tweeted that was because I had just found this new community. It was the first company that I had seen was Hija de Madre by Patty Delgado. And I had never seen a Latina entrepreneur. It was always the white lady entrepreneur that I looked up to because that was all I knew.
Yeah.
And it was just lack of exposure, right? That was really just the only thing. And when I found Hija de Madre, I was so inspired, especially because she was in her 20s at the time. Wow. And she was killing it. Like, she was doing such an amazing job. And it was rooted in cultura. And I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, this is a thing? And then slowly but surely I started finding more. So I started finding Shop Latinx, Rizzo's Curls. Those were like the main three that were running the show at the time. And then the pandemic hit. Ironically, as the pandemic hit, I tweeted this thing, and in my personal account, for some strange reason, I had marketing in my bio. Why? I don't know. I just did. And someone reached out to me. It was actually the lady that guided me into my awakening, Kathy Vanegas from the Healing Gem. And she was like, hey, I see you do marketing. Like, do you do emails? And again, I've been in this startup for a year and a half now, and I'm like, yeah, totally. It's like, I don't know if she knows this to this day, but literally I was like, I can figure this out. Let's do it. And so yeah, I did her emails for a while. And then on top of that, like at that, Hija de Madre had a meetup in January, February to launch their planner. And
wow.
I met somebody. I don't think they're really active anymore on social, but it was the Diosa Leon sisters. It was Jax and Yessie. They were the founders of that lifestyle line, and they were looking for a social media person. And she was like, oh, like, yeah, like, I'm looking for someone to intern for me. It's like unpaid, but like, we can like figure something out if you do. And we were just making conversation. I wasn't pitching myself. I was just like,
okay.
Oh, okay. And I was like, bet, I could do that. I think at the time I just like, you know, marketing is such a wide array of things, right? Yeah. And so because I didn't have this corporate experience, I've literally been making it up from like my bachelor's degree. At the time I was like so determined to learn, so I was doing a UCLA extension certification course. And I was just like, okay, let's apply it. Like, let's figure it out. And so I took those clients on throughout the entire 2020 year. But I didn't recognize this as a business. It was just like, oh, I'm here helping these people because at the end of the day, it's helping me learn.
Okay.
And so here I was, like, running this account, writing these emails, and just figuring it out. And then fast forward to June 2020, middle of the pandemic, I hate this job. I'm about to get a really cool one. I quit and I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm fine. I have these two side gigs and like, it's gonna be fine. Um, and so I quit and I'm like, great. $5 in my account. Cool, cool, cool. But we're gonna figure it out. That was June. And I had, after they told me no at Savage X Fenty, I had no idea where I was going. I literally had
Okay.
zero. I remember sitting in my room and I was like, what do I want now? I
Yeah.
was like, because again, that's why my last piece of advice in the last episode was like, don't get overwhelmed by everything that there is. Because I did. I was like, I am determined to manifest this into my life. I made a vision board. This sounds really creepy, but
Mm.
I even had seen like people that worked at Savage X Fenty, and I was like, that person's gonna be my coworker, and that person's gonna be my manager. It was really specific,
Yeah.
and like I said, I still have that list of manifestations and affirmations, and I did it every day, and I was gonna get that job, and then afterwards I was like lost. I looked
Ooh.
at LinkedIn and I was like, I don't want any of these.
Yeah.
I want my old last job or the last thing that I was applying to. Um, and I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So I was lost and I didn't know what to do. So then, um, again, similarly, I wanted to learn everything under the sun. And TikTok was kicking off, so I was following all the marketing people and all the social media people, but they were all white.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, I hate this. And then at 3 in the morning, like September, I was like, what am I doing? It is 3 in the morning and I'm stalking this like white lady that talks marketing. Like, what is happening? I know I literally was getting so frustrated because like no one was talking anything new. Like it was all
Mm.
the same thing. And I was just like, ugh, this is so annoying. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start a business. And then I was like, yeah, like I'm just gonna do it and I'm gonna serve the Latinx community because at the time, so it's 2020, so it's pandemic and
Mm-hmm.
everyone's home. I'm working from home and things are like hitting the fan for a lot of people,
Yeah.
specifically the Latino community or Latinx community. It was so inspiring to see because at the end of the day, literally everyone didn't like play victim. They literally were like, let's get up and do something about this. And they were starting businesses left and right.
Yeah.
Literally so many businesses in 2020. And it was so
Yeah.
inspiring. But pandemic hit March. By July, June, everyone was frustrated with the algorithm as it
Yes.
started.
Instagram.
And so I was like, you know what? That like 3 a.m. light bulb was like, I'm gonna start a business that's teaching people how to market themselves on just market themselves because when I started I did everything under the sun. And I literally created a logo on Canva and I posted it on my stories and I said, hi, starting a business, follow, have a nice day, bye. I still have that memory in my Instagram stories archive.
And that was your personal Instagram. So you
Hmm.
were just starting the Latinx Instagram.
Yeah, like,
Wow. This is so cool to hear because I mentioned like you were inspo. So I, up until 2019, had held a corporate job in human resources. And I was going through my healing and awakening starting 2016. I was quickly realizing like I cannot do this for the rest of my life. I had a dad who also implemented like the entrepreneurial seed, but didn't really water it, to be honest. It was like, just figure it out, do something, get out of your job. But so I kind of started to like water that seed and I was like, what could I do? What could I do? Summer 2019, I quit my corporate job with no backup. And I was like, I need to figure something out. I spent 3 months thinking like, what do I want? What can I do? I looked into drop shipping, being an influencer, YouTube, like everything under the sun. And I just didn't know myself enough to really know what aligned. So fall of 2019, I go back into the corporate world. And then a few months later, the pandemic happens, right? At this point, I start being more creative. I like started to paint randomly, try a recipe, a random one. And then a friend does like acrylic nails on me. She's like, hey, can I practice on you? And she does them. And I used to get acrylic nails every like 2 weeks. And then I was like, what if I can do this for myself? Like, what if I can do my own nails? How cool. So I buy all of these supplies, and then the pandemic hit, so I'm stuck, working from home and doing my nails. And you mentioned like the agenda that Hija de tu Madre released. By then, I started to sell press-on nails while working my corporate job, and I didn't think it was my exit plan, but it was a distraction from like the shit that was happening in the world. And I bought it, and I like made a video, and it was like with my nails, and I tagged Hija de tu Madre, and they responded, and I was like, oh my god. But the other cool part is that I remember you on TikTok and then going to your Instagram, and you had just started your feed. Like it was like very it was like red, right? That was one of your main colors, and it was very curated from what I had seen, like just like they all matched. And so like similarly to you, the cable started to like click, like so cool. There's Hija de tu, like this is a Latina brand by Latinas, what? And then there's like a Latina marketing person, what? And so I was just like, whoa. And so then came First Gen Healing and stuff, and this was a big part of it. It was the connecting of the dots and seeing the possibility. The niche that isn't being served is the Latino community. And how can I use like my degree, I'm sure like in a similar way, it was like, how can I use my experience and serve this community? And so super cool that that's kind of like the path that started to be created for us.
Exactly. It was honestly wild. I think about it and I'm like, I don't really know how that happened, but it happened.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so you were like, hey guys, I'm starting a business. Follow me.
Yeah, so literally was like, I'm starting a business, da-da, and then I woke up, went to sleep, woke up, and then I was like, oh fuck, what did I do? What did I do? My half asleep 3 a.m. person decided wrong. And I just like froze. I said I was gonna launch in September, and then I didn't, and I was like, oh god, I don't know what to do. And then October came around, and I was again like very little money in my account, and I was like, okay, we really gotta get our shit together. And I was like, okay, I am going to start posting. And I started posting on Latinx marketing, but it had zero branding. It had like nothing. I think I still have a few of the posts in my account for memory's sake and just in general growth, so I can look at it one day. And it was just like really like not, I wasn't motivated yet. I was just like, okay. Like I'm gonna post sometimes, and like I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And then what happened was that Patty was answering questions on the Tory something foundation on their account, and she was like, comment your question and I'll answer it. And for the longest time I was thinking to myself, I was like, if I do IG lives, like my account is gonna blow up. But then I was like, I don't know who I'm gonna interview, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I kept thinking about it. Like that was something that was resonating with me, but I was terrified. And so what I did was I ended up asking Patty, and I was like, hey, what is the best way to grow your account with, and like grow clientele essentially? And she had said collaborations, specifically in IG lives. And I was like, wow, validation. So going back again after once I met Hija de Madre or found out about Hija de Madre, I had determined to insert myself in this space. I was like, I'm gonna make friends left and right. I don't know what it was because prior, everyone comes to shock when I say this, but prior to 2019, I had zero friends. I had zero social life. I knew nobody. I literally was stuck in my room talking to my best friend who lives in San Francisco every day. And she was like, go out there. And I'm like, where? um, I don't know what it was. I like think about it and I'm like, what switched in me? I don't know.
Mm.
But there was a determination to be a part of this community. So literally, if
Mm.
you had Latina in your bio, I was in your comments. I was in your follows. I was in your
Mm.
DMs. Like literally, it wasn't like in a creepy way, but literally like people were like, "Who the fuck is this person?" Like commenting and like hyping me up. Like I'm here for it, but like who are you?
Yeah.
And so literally that's how
Wow.
I ended up like inserting myself was just like comment after comment after comment and like just hype after hype situation where I literally was like, I'm going to be in this space and I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm going to be in this space. And then fast forward when Patty says go on IG Live, I was like, okay, we're going to do it. So I was determined to conquer my fear and of even talking because this would not happen. This
Mm.
that we're
Okay.
doing right now is would not
Yeah.
ever happen. And then
Ooh.
essentially I scheduled 30 back-to-back IG lives in the month of December of 20.
Wow.
Yeah,
With these people that you had been networking with.
correct.
Wow. Okay.
And I literally was like, come IG live with me. Some of those people, shout out to Reina from Quiero Prince or Quiero Creative, whichever one you know her from. I forced her to do that with me. And ever since we've been really
Mm.
good friends, there were just like a lot of people that I was able to just like be like, hey, I'm starting this business and like I want to see if you want to go on live with me. And literally, I don't think anyone told me no.
Wow.
And so I did. I went on live and I grew my account literally night and day in that moment. And I was like, this is the solution to like everything. But I think that's really where it kicked off. Like December of 2020, and then I started learning about branding and I started learning about websites. And I had a person, her name is Gabby, and she was like, hey, like, I was like, can you design my brand? And I just remember I wanted it to be bold and loud. I was like, I don't give a fuck if this is not normal. Like, I want it to be
Ooh, wow.
loud as like the Mexican markets that you go see where it's like
Oh,
so everywhere. That was the
yeah.
inspiration. So she designed my branding. China at the time was my from Monforte Studio was my first official Latinx marketing client, and she
Wow.
uh, designed my website. And then by March, we were off. I think March, February, we were off. We were ready to go. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, and then since then, it's been now where we are.
Wow. Underneath all of this that you see is like kind of unfolding in front of you, was there fear of like having a gap year in your resume, or were you already like, I'm ready to leave that world? This is what's next for me.
I freaking hated my like. I would cry on my way home every day. Like it was
Um,
like it wasn't like, oh, I hate my boss. It was I hate everyone.
I see.
And because of that, I was just like in such a bad place that like I think it was partially ignorance to like planning, but I had so much belief in myself. There is no way this is not working. Like this is gonna work.
Mm. Yeah.
It was actually so crazy that I ended up working with a coach, and I didn't even have I only had China at the time, I think, and as a client, and her name is Wendy. She's from Lovingly Bold.
She's been on the podcast.
Oh
Woo!
yeah. So yeah, Wendy. I had met Jen from Project Creativa on. I was a big fan on TikTok. I was
Yeah.
like huge fan, and I was like,
Yeah.
Jen, you're my famous friend, and I kept calling her that. And I was like, Jen, you're famous, because she was like one of the first designers to blow up on TikTok from the
Yeah.
Latina space.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, I couldn't have done it without Wendy." And at the time,
Mm.
I was like, "Oh my God, I must work with Wendy because I'm gonna be famous like Jen."
Yeah.
Literally, it was like I met Jen on Zoom. She told me about Wendy, and I reached out to Wendy and I said, "Hey, I hear you offer this. We've never spoken to before, but like, what do you offer? Send me things." And then she sent me like this entire like marketing thing, and I was like, I don't want to read that. I was like, send me the checkout link, like.
Wow.
And she was
Yeah.
like, what? And like, I literally was so like ignorant to the world. Like, I was like, I don't know how. I literally remember telling her, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna pay you, but I'm gonna pay you at some point. I was like, somehow it's gonna work out because like it's worked out for Jen, therefore
Yeah.
it will work out for me.
Wow.
And so I literally just like paid her and we were off. Like, I kid you not, I did not read any pamphlet that she sent me.
Mm.
She sent me all these things, and I was like, I say less. I don't need to read this.
Yeah. That's the power, right, of like referrals and like, yeah. How cool.
But I think it's the power of like truly believing in yourself. Like,
Mm.
I, we talked about it in the previous episode, but like at one point I lost like all of my clients at the same time. That really took a toll on like my mental space.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Yeah.
I have not been able to go back to like my belief in myself because of that. That like damaged it.
Mm.
But like we're healing. It's fine.
Yeah.
But like I look back and I'm like I want to be there where like I truly and solely believe in myself so fucking much that like nothing can go wrong.
Yeah.
Like yeah, like realistically, like I had 0 clients and I promised someone I would pay them $8,000. What?
Wow. Well, I think that was a combination of, I mean, not now knowing, right, after part one, like, kind of like, that you're on this awakening path. I feel like it was this combination of timing, right, of purpose, of vision, of willingness to like take action, which it sounds like you were, and maybe even like a suppressing a little bit of that imposter syndrome, you know, because I think a lot of people get stuck in that. But what happened with you is like you were seeing it as it was like sprouting this like potential, right? And you were like, yep, I'm in it, I'm part of this, I want to be there too. So super cool. And yeah, I maybe we can talk about that moment where you went from, you know, this year maybe and a half, right, where everything was going right, and then you had like a halt. I feel like maybe hearing your story, you bounce back harder, it sounds like to me. So maybe it's taking a little bit longer than you feel comfortable, but I have this feeling just like you, like you're going to bounce back bigger, brighter, stronger, you know. But how did that period come about, or like do you give it meaning now? What did that actually look like for you?
I think it was divine timing, to be honest. Like, I had gone from hosting 30 lives to, I think I did it for like another 2 or 3 months where I just kept inviting anybody I met. I was just like, let's do it. And trying to hear their story, learn from them. And then it started to decrease. It was like, okay, like 3 times a month, 4 times a month to like, I think the last season or last month of doing that, I literally canceled it because I was so burnt the fuck out.
Okay.
I was done. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. um, People were asking, like, there was so much momentum. Like,
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. Like, people were asking me to do this, people were asking me to do that. Like, I was also trying to keep up with, like, actual clients and, like, posting on social. Like, there was so much happening, and I was done. I literally went MIA for a month, I think, and I was like, I'm done. And
Okay.
it was just
Yeah.
like behind the scenes. And so
Yeah.
as that was like moving on, like that halt or like it was just that and like lack of planning. Like I had clients that were enrolled for 6 months and I didn't promote myself to like get more after the 6 months. Like
I
after the six
see.
months, they were like, "Hi, Maddie, you've taught me everything I need to know," and they're all like successful and shining, and it's amazing. But I was just like, "Please don't leave."
Mm.
So then, yeah, and I remember thinking, and I remember crying about it because I was just like, I'm back to where I was. Great.
Mm.
And like, I just was so lost. I was just like, I don't know what is happening. Um, but there was like a delusion to myself also where it was like, oh, like it's gonna come. But like deep down, there was so much doubt, and because of that, like I could not get up. Like I literally was like, I remember Wendy was still my coach, and I remember crying. I was like, Wendy, I can't get up. Like, what is happening? And she was just like, no one can do this but yourself. Like you have to get up. Um, and so yeah, so then after that, it was like last year, January, and I was like, I'm just gonna try. And I just kept trying, and I was like, I got like a glimpse, and I was like, what am I really good at? And like, I'm really good at bringing people together. Like, I just happen to be a really like, connector of people. Whereas, like, I know this person, that person knows that person, you guys need to meet. Or like, this person, and yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, what if I did this but like paid? So I ended up launching Jefas Juntas, which is our community for entrepreneurs and creators that really just want to learn social media and connect with other people. Um, and so that was kind of like the culmination of like, okay, I'm getting up slowly but surely. And I think ever since I've been trying to get up. Like it's not been like a I'm done, like I've
Yeah.
arrived. It's been like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm healing that because that was so hard on me.
Yeah. Wow. I think, I always like to say, like, don't compare yourself to others. And I think, like, for example, I'm not saying like you don't compare yourself. Like, sometimes I think I would compare myself to you guys sometimes, because I was seeing everyone riding this wave and it felt like, man, like, but at that time I hadn't figured out what I wanted to do, like what was my route, and so I felt frustrated with myself because I did see you guys shining bright, and I'm like, I want that too, like I want to be. But it's so interesting, like, yeah, it's kind of like you were a firework, like you burned like super bright, super big, right? And then there's a come down, and that can be really hard and yeah, I think, hopefully you don't make it about yourself. It's kind of like it was a big wave. You knew how to surf it, but the wave is done and you're going to find a new wave, right? And it's going to be something hopefully better and more aligned with what you're wanting and needing next.
Yeah, for sure. I think similarly, like ironically, you said that you were comparing yourself to like me and whoever else you were looking at. I was comparing myself to like the people that I was being surrounded by. Like they were bringing in like six figures, and I was like, I want that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I made like bad financial decisions where I was like, again, like trying to be delusional, and I was just like, yeah, like I could do that, and like, oh yeah, like I can I'll like sign up for that and take this course and yada yada. It was just like lack of planning and like lack of missing, like wanting to fit in and be like a part of this and be like good at, again, being good enough to be a part of like this circle. From outside, it looks like Mari's doing so well too, but like not, I just kept saying like not as well. Like I'm not as good as them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it became like I was just trying to again prove that I was good enough. It's been like clearly the running thing that like I keep running towards, and it's like, bruh, like get there. Like you already know you're really good at what you and I think that's what like
Yeah.
I've been doing this year. It's like what am I actually really good at? And I'm really good at strategy. Like strategy is my thing. I'm also really good at content creation. Like give me a camera and like I can create something for you. And that's what I've been honing in on. Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
imposter syndrome played a big role in year 2 for me.
Yeah, it came after maybe where some people get stuck at that, and they don't push forward in action in any way. Maybe like for you, it did kind of come under. I also think I wonder, like knowing that you're into manifesting, like what if part of what you were creating wasn't aligning with what you actually want? Like in the long term, like it sounds like right now you're working on a stronger foundation. So if you build something from I'm not good enough, it's gonna like it's like sand, like a sand castle, right? But if you build something from I'm good enough, now what do I want? That's such a different game you're playing, right? You're no longer proving yourself to anyone. Like you're starting from I know this and I don't need to do anything to prove that. Now what do I want to build?
That's what I feel like I'm in, and not even just like in my own space, but like for example, like I guess like the other day I had a client that or like an inquiry that was like, hey, like I want you to film this for me, and um but I also want to see like a portfolio. I sent her everything I have. Literally, it was like, oh, here's our videos, and then she was like, but I'm not sure, and then she was like, here, okay, I was like, okay, like here's like my full portfolio, and she was like, unsure, and I was like, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt it, like I was just like, I literally responded, obviously respectfully, but I was just like, hey, like if you don't see that I'm good at this from all the shit that I just sent you, then it's not meant to be, and that's fine. Like go find yourself somebody that is meant to be, because
Yeah.
I'm good at this. Like I know that. And
Yeah.
like if you don't see it, I don't give a fuck. And I feel like
Woo.
that like year 2 was like that, where I'm like I learned, and now year 3 it's more like I'm getting myself no longer trying to like prove, but like I know my shit. Like
Yeah.
I really do now. Like I don't need to prove to anybody. Like the other day I was like at the tech event, and then they were like, oh, like what do you want? Like what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm looking for like a job in social media, da da da. And then she was like, oh, like why are you at a tech event? Like you should like get like skills in like SQL and Python and da 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 da. And I was just like, no. Fuck no. I was like, no. And she's like, why? And I was like, because I'm really good at what I do. And like, I know that I'm creative. I know that that's like where I'm supposed to be. I'm not going to settle for a fucking sequel or whatever job because like it pays more. That's not in my journey. Like, I am good at this.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm going to stay in my realm and like be good at it.
Yeah. Wow. Super cool. I feel like you're sitting in, like you're settling into your CEO seat, like that's maybe what this last year has been like for you because it's going to translate. I mean, I know in the last episode you mentioned like growing your business and having employees. And so it sounds to me like, yeah, I feel like if you were in that other energy, then your employees feel that too. It's like, we're going to take any job and we're going to do it, and we're not going to charge it. But right now you're like settling into your worth, settling into your work. And that's going to, I think, create a way better work environment too for whoever you bring onto your team. So how cool and exciting.
Side note, that lady did end up signing her contract, so.
Woo! Wow, so cool. Well, Thank you so much for sharing so openly about your journey. And, I think we started off talking about like kind of a creative journey, but it's really also like entrepreneurial journey and seeing like not everything is the highs, the things that shine the brightest, there's also always like I think there's always duality in everything, right? If we talk about like universal laws, there's always duality. And so it's so cool and important to like share the lows too. And also like not just, oh my God, look at me, this sucks, but like, here's the meaning that I'm giving it, and here's how I'm transforming it or alchemizing it, into my next like step.
Yeah, I have attended so many conversations by Latina entrepreneurs, and like specifically, I feel like right now the ones in the spotlight are like not millennials, but like the generation after. I think it's Gen X. There are some millennials that are shining, but anyways, I think that's like the one thing I promised myself. It's like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh my god, an entrepreneur job is so great. Anyone can do it. It's been like roses and like it's so awesome. No, this shit is fucking hard. And like
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you like all the bumps in the road. It's just part of it, you know? Like I've had clients that like literally message me and be like, "Oh, like I can't pay you." And I'm like, "Okay, but I just did my job." Like there's so many things that just happen. Like I've had clients that are like, "Mari, like this isn't good enough." And I'm like, "What?" Like I just worked on it for and they like scratch it all. And I'm like, "Are you serious?" Like what? So it's like
Yeah.
it I promised myself that if I ever talk about my entrepreneurial journey, I'm gonna tell you like how it really was, not like
Yeah.
the fucking glam of it all. Because eventually, I'm gonna be the one in the spotlight. I'm manifesting that for myself.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you how it is because that's how you inspire other people and how other people relate to you. I mean, you're not gonna be like, oh, Mari is so cool because like she's successful. No, Mari is cool because she's gone through the fucking ringer and like she's telling you about it and how she came out of it.
Yeah. Ooh, it's so important. I think like also, there's this I don't want to call it grooming, but like there's something that happens in the corporate world. Like for me, it's been a lot of shedding those layers of like perfectionism and like I have to show just the shiny parts, because in the corporate world, at least like we're in the businesses that I worked, I was like a consultant at some point, and as a consultant, you don't show that you don't know something, because you'll lose that client. So you have to show that you know everything and that you can like keep up with them. And so I think that maybe it was even a blessing that you weren't stuck in those 9 to 5 jobs for so long, because it allows you to be so transparent, and not put that perspective to it like, oh, if I show that I went through a rough patch, they won't take me seriously. Like, no, you see the power in that, and so that's super cool too.
Yeah, I think it takes us not just like for me, but I mean in general, like it takes a certain amount of like vulnerability and like I've noticed that that's where your power lies. Like your vulnerability is where things are going to get things moving. And I didn't realize that actually until recently. Part of like the career coaching that I had talked about with Your Truth at Work um, was that they had me posting on LinkedIn. And I was like, I freaking hate all these people, all
Mm.
these corporate people, they're gonna judge me. Um, and then one day I was like, you know what? Fuck it. And I wrote like a small little snippet of how like I'm an entrepreneur who is looking for a job and that's okay. And literally it blew up the internet. And I was like, wow.
Wow.
I was like, okay, like it was so funny because I was like trying to at first I was trying to mimic like the other people. I was like, oh, like use stories to do this and like do this for social media, and it was great, but like no one was resonating. They were like,
Mm.
but then I remember I wrote it and I was like, fuck it. But then literally maybe like 5 minutes before it was scheduled, I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna take this down. And then I got distracted and then it posted and I was like, it's out.
Wow.
And then it literally was like night and day. People were like, I could not relate to that something so much more. And I was like, cool. So it didn't go as bad as I thought.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's
cool.
where it is. It's like your power is in your vulnerability and in your experience authentically, not the catered, pretty version of your experience.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Well, thank you so, so, so much for sharing this piece and this story. And I feel like it's like the behind the scenes of what I was seeing, like in the, like what I was seeing through the screen. And now I get to know more of the full story as well as the audience. So thank you for sharing it. And I do have last questions. They're fun questions. Salsa verde or roja?
Verde.
Jamaica or chata?
Jamaica.
Bad Bunny or Daddy Yankee?
I don't know. That's hard. I think I'm gonna go with Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny,
I
okay.
think he just represents more things that I like.
True. I feel like, yeah, Daddy Yankee gets a lot of respect because he's an OG, but yeah.
Like his music is cool, but like what he actually represents as a person, eh.
Yeah. True. Concha de vainilla or chocolate?
Either or. Honestly, I don't see the difference.
Ooh, okay, okay. And if we're pulling up to your favorite taco spot, what is your order?
First of all, everyone needs to go get Dotis tacos on Crenshaw and Rosecrans.
Ooh.
It is always poppin', like at all times. Like if you're coming from the club and you're going to go get tacos, that's where you're going. Um,
Ooh.
but like also in the middle of the day. So that is what I'm getting. But that's what I'm ordering. And then as far as what I'm getting, it kind of depends on my mood. I think like if I'm feeling junk foody, I'm gonna get like um nachos with carne asada. But
Mm.
if I'm feeling taco-y, I'm just gonna get 4 tacos de asada. I'm not an adventurous person when it comes to the meats.
Okay. 4 tacos de asada, salsa verde, cebolla, cilantro.
Yes.
Okay. There
But
you guys have it.
say, I love quali salsa. I don't know if you've tried it, but I prefer that in comparison to verde.
Quali?
Mm-hmm.
¿Qué es eso?
It's a salsa from, oh my god, what is her name? It's like una pareja. It's the best salsa matcha.
Mmm.
They're so good. You
And
should
they
look
sell it like bottled, or it's like a specific place, or what?
bottled. So they are like they create like these cute ones.
Mmm. Whoa.
Yeah. But their most famous one is this one. Hold on. So good. So good.
Okay.
And it's Latina owned or Latinx owned. I guess they're
So
owned
cool.
by both of them. So
Yeah. Woo! Okay, I will check it out. You guys need to check it out too.
yeah.
All right. Well, any last words before we close this part out?
It gets better. It gets better, especially if you are in the downs of entrepreneurship, especially with this economy, girl. It gets better. Don't give up and don't feel ashamed to do other things to keep going. You don't have to let go of the dream. I think that's like an important thing that you don't have to choose either or. You just have to keep going and keep striving and trying. Because once you stop trying, then that's when shit hits the fan.
Yeah. 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 Don't be afraid to do the things you need to do what you want to do.
The dream will come.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope that you guys like this episode. Make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast if you haven't already. And share it with your amigas, amigos, amigues. And we hope you have a good day.
Yay!
Bye.